They tell you to just be yourself, to treat her right, to show her you care, but the moment you do, she vanishes. Vanishes into the arms of a guy who barely texts back, who forgets her birthday, who disappears for 3 days and returns with a smirk and an excuse. And you sit there, confused, furious, trying to figure out how someone who claims she wants love keeps running back to chaos. If you've ever watched a girl cry over a guy who treats her like trash, while you, the one who listened, supported, stayed loyal, sit quietly on the sidelines, this video is for you. Because this isn't just a pattern, it's a revelation about how attraction really works. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to break the spell she's under and why being the good guy has never been enough. There's a moment that replays in the minds of men who've been through this. Maybe it was a party. She walked in with that light in her eyes, full of hope, still healing from the last asshole she swore she'd never go back to. And for a second, you believed she might choose different. You made her laugh. You made her feel safe. You gave her every signal that you were ready to be the guy who doesn't play games. And she smiled at you like she might finally be done with the drama. Then a week later, she's back with him. Not just back, but defending him, lying for him, apologizing to him, and you become the therapist, the standby, the invisible backup plan she never intends to activate. The first truth you need to swallow like a shot of poison: attraction isn't logical, it's not moral, it's not based on how nice you are, how available, how stable. Attraction is primal. And in a mind wired by social media dopamine, past abandonment, and unresolved self-worth issues, confusion wins. You keep thinking that if you're just patient enough, she'll wake up and realize what a good guy you are. But that moment doesn't come, because she never respects what she can predict. And you've become predictable, accessible, emotionally safe in a way that feels like being neutered. You're the emotional sponge, and she's drying off with you after drowning in him. Let that sink in. She's using you to detox from him, not because she wants to stay clean, but because she needs a place to rest before diving back into the chaos. And you allow it, you enable it, and you tell yourself you're playing the long game, but you're not. You're not playing a game at all, you're being played. And it's not because she's evil, it's because you haven't created any consequence for your value being overlooked. The toxic guy has boundaries, even if they're warped. You have none. That's why she keeps choosing him. Not because he's the answer, but because he refuses to be the question. You need to understand something so clearly it hurts. She doesn't respect the man who puts himself beneath her pain. When you listen to her for hours as she vents about him, hoping your empathy will win her heart, you're not gaining ground, you're losing it. Every time you absorb her drama, like a punching bag wrapped in kindness, you're teaching her that your love is available at a discount. That it costs nothing, that she can pay you in breadcrumbs and still have access to your loyalty. That is not love, that's self-abandonment. And here's where it gets raw: she doesn't want to be saved. She wants to feel something, and she's not evolved enough to understand that stability and peace are better than chaos and adrenaline. So she keeps confusing the storm for love. And you, being the good guy, try to become the umbrella. But she's not looking for shelter. She's addicted to the lightning. That's the game you're playing. And it's one you'll never win if you keep thinking logic will override her limbic system. Because while you're trying to prove your worth with consistency, he's hijacking her emotions with withdrawal. Think back. How many times have you seen her smile when he texts? How many times has she fallen silent, eyes glazing over while you're mid-sentence, because he just popped into her head? You could be pouring out your soul, offering her stability, presence, real depth, and one message from him derails the entire conversation. That's not because you're less valuable. It's because he controls the drug that affects her, and she's still addicted, staying entangled in the destructive pattern. You keep trying to be the cure, but she hasn't even admitted she's sick. You're trying to rescue someone who hasn't asked to be saved, and in doing so, you become part of her emotional damage loop. You become the guy she leans on when he ghosts her, cries to when he cheats, runs to when she feels broken, but never the guy she craves, never the guy she obsesses over. Because obsession comes from unpredictability, from tension, from polarity. You, on the other hand, bring safety, and she's not ready to receive it because she hasn't grown into the woman who values it. Here's the twist. It's not your fault for being good. It's your fault for being available without value. You gave her the benefits of a relationship with none of the cost. No standards, no mystery, no masculine edge. And she felt it. She felt your neediness hidden behind kindness. She felt your hunger wrapped in compliments. And even if you never said it, your energy screamed, "Please choose me." That's what killed the attraction. Not your heart, not your loyalty, but the way you placed her on a pedestal that she never earned. You can't love a woman into loving you. You can't out-nice her trauma, and you definitely can't become more attractive by proving your patience. You become more attractive by becoming scarce, by pulling your energy back, by reclaiming your self-respect like it's the only currency you trade in. Because when you stop chasing, she's forced to feel your absence. And only then does she wonder what she lost. Only then does she compare the toxic guy's drama to your depth and feel the contrast. The toxic guy doesn't win because he's better. He wins because he plays a different game. A game where he places himself first, where he walks away when he's bored, where he sets the tone and forces her to follow it. And while he may do it for the wrong reasons, the frame he holds is what creates the pull. He gives her a hill to climb, a test to pass, a chase to pursue. You gave her the finish line too soon, and she didn't feel like she earned you, so she didn't value you. The moment you stop trying to prove you're better than him and start becoming the man who no longer needs her to choose you, that's when your power returns. That's when the shift happens. Not when you play her game, but when you build a life so solid, so grounded, so rich in purpose and masculinity that she feels your presence even when you say nothing. You don't fight for a woman who doesn't see you. You walk. Not to teach her a lesson, but to teach yourself one. You were never meant to be an emotional bandage. You were meant to be the one she feared losing. You know what really messes her up? When the guy she thought would always be there stops waiting. When the man who used to drop everything for her becomes untouchable, not bitter, not cruel, but elevated, detached, controlled. You don't scream, you don't beg, you simply rise. And that shift in energy, that removal of emotional access, terrifies her in a way the toxic guy never could. Because she didn't expect it from you. She expected to keep you in orbit while she danced with chaos. But now you've gone quiet. Now she can't feel you anymore. And in the silence, she starts to remember everything she dismissed. You want to know why she keeps choosing him? Because he makes her feel something. And the only way to break that pattern is not by making her feel bad, but by making her feel your absence. Not through tantrums, not through ultimatums, but through sovereignty, through unshakable self-respect. That's what breaks her loop. Not convincing, not debating, not holding her while she cries about another man. You don't get her to see your value by being endlessly present. You get her to see it by withdrawing it. But here's the dangerous part, and where most men fail. The second she notices your absence, she'll test you. She'll pop up with a text, a soft hey with 3 dots, a story about how she's doing better now. Don't fall for it. That's not transformation, that's bait. She's not healed. She's just sensing that her emotional supply is drying up. And she wants to see if she can still control the faucet, if she can still pull your attention without giving you her devotion. And if you respond like you used to, with eagerness, with hope, she'll confirm you never changed. You just paused. And she'll vanish again, reassured that you're still on the shelf. You want to be the guy she can't ignore? Then stop being the guy she can predict. Stop being the predictable response. The soft landing, the backup plan. That version of you is dead. The new version doesn't chase. He attracts. He doesn't wait. He builds. He doesn't beg. He walks away. With power, with clarity, with silence that screams, "You don't get access to me unless you rise to meet me." That's the energy that flips the dynamic. That's the shift that makes her question everything she thought she wanted. And it won't happen instantly. There will be nights where your mind races, where the urge to check her socials, to send a "just thinking of you" text feels unbearable. But you don't give in, because this isn't just about her anymore. This is about you confronting the part of yourself that needed external validation to feel worthy. The part that confused attention with love. The part that thought sacrificing your pride would earn someone else's loyalty. That part has to die for something stronger to take its place. You become dangerous in the best way possible when your peace is no longer dependent on her recognition, when your masculinity stops being reactive and starts being rooted in discipline, in purpose, in self-respect that cannot be negotiated. That's when she starts seeing you differently. That's when the texts change from "hey" to "I miss you," from "how have you been" to "I messed up." But by then you won't need them. You'll see through the noise. You'll look at the same woman who once broke you and realize you're not the same man anymore. And maybe, just maybe, she'll change too. Maybe the cycle will finally break. Maybe she'll come back ready. But here's the truth you have to burn into your bones. Even if she doesn't, you still win. Because this time, you didn't lose yourself trying to be chosen. This time, you chose yourself first. And that's what ends the pattern. Not her decision, but yours. There's a point every man reaches where he looks in the mirror and realizes he's been begging for a woman's attention with every kind gesture, every late-night call, every just checking in text. And he hates what he sees. Not because he was weak, but because he gave strength to someone who couldn't hold it. You gave her the best parts of you while she was still tangled in her worst. You tried to build a future with someone addicted to her past, and you lost time, confidence, self-worth, all because you believed love was earned through sacrifice. But here's what most men never grasp. You don't become a king by proving you can bleed for a queen. You become a king by knowing when to close your gates, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. Because love without respect is a slow death. And every time you let her back in without standards, you carve a deeper wound in your masculinity. You want her to see your worth? Then act like a man who sees it first. Walk like your time is sacred. Speak like your energy is limited. Live like your presence is a reward, not a default. Because a man who owns himself fully doesn't chase. He creates gravity. She feels him when he enters a room, not because he tries, but because he's built something real inside himself, something no woman can give or take away. That's the shift. That's what flips the narrative. When your need for her attention dies, her obsession with your absence begins. And it's not about games, it's about polarity. Masculine energy leads, it anchors, it commands, but it never pleads. You pleaded once, you learned, now you lead. You have to understand this. When you were nice to her, when you gave without hesitation, when you held space for her tears and still got ignored, it wasn't because you were too good, it was because you were too available. You presented your loyalty like a menu item, something she could sample without commitment. And now you're angry, not at her, but at yourself, because deep down, you knew you were shrinking. You knew you were sacrificing your edge. You knew you were sacrificing your edge. And you did it anyway, because part of you still believed that being chosen by her would finally make you enough. But now you know the truth. Being chosen by someone who doesn't respect themselves will never feel like respect. It'll feel like emotional roulette. One day you're everything, the next day you're nothing. That's not love. That's trauma cycling through different costumes. And the only way to exit that game is to stop sitting at the table. You don't fold your cards. You burn the whole deck and walk away with your dignity. When she finally circles back, and she will, whether it's 6 days or 6 months, she won't recognize you. Not because your face has changed, but because your energy has. You won't flinch when she says she misses you. You won't melt when she says she was just scared. You'll see it clearly, that it was never about you not being enough. It was about her being addicted to feeling unworthy. And when you see that, you don't hate her, you don't wish her pain, you just let go. Because the man you are now doesn't need chaos to feel powerful. He creates peace. Holds frame, chooses who gets access with discernment. And most of all, he never again tries to convince a woman to value what she was too blind to see the first time. And when you let go like that, quietly, without drama, without revenge, you become untouchable. Not because you've hardened, but because you've healed. You no longer operate from a place of emotional starvation. You're fed by something deeper now. Vision, purpose, inner command. You've taken all that energy you used to spend waiting for a text, interpreting mixed signals, doubting your worth, and you've redirected it into becoming the man you were always meant to be. Not for her, not for validation, but for you. Because real power isn't loud. It doesn't beg to be seen. It just is. It walks into the room without announcing itself, and everything around it shifts. That's what she feels when she finally sees you again. The stillness in your eyes, the groundedness in your voice, the absence of hunger. You're not trying to pull her back. You're not trying to prove anything. You've already won. Because you've built a life where her presence is a privilege, not a priority. And that's when she finally understands what she lost. But by then, it's too late. And no, this isn't a fairy tale where she comes running and you take her back and everything is perfect. This is the raw reality. She might change. She might evolve. But the version of you that's standing here now doesn't wait to see if she will. He moves forward, unapologetically, because he knows that a woman who needs saving can never be a partner. She has to save herself first. And until she does, she's not your equal. She's a risk, one that you no longer take. So stop playing the therapist. Stop playing the backup plan. Stop offering your soul to someone who's still in love with her chaos. You are not her rehabilitation center. You are not the soft place she crashes into after every storm. You are the storm now, the one that shakes her world by refusing to be predictable, by refusing to be emotionally manipulated, by refusing to wait. And the final truth you need to absorb like fire into your bones is this: you don't get her back by waiting. You get her back by never needing her again.